Welcome to Lebanon Now's Conversation with Candidates. I'm David Millsap. The purpose of our conversation is to give you, the voter, insight on local races for school board, city council, local and state and county offices. Our conversations with candidates allow you to hear directly from those seeking office in the April elections, and as time goes by, the August primary and the November general election. 3 candidates are seeking the Lebanon City Council Ward 1 position in the April election. Jared Skarnhorst, Jeremy Goforth, and Jeff Stokes. Jeff Stokes is a longtime Lebanon resident. He served in the United States Army, including a deployment to Iraq. He has an MBA from Missouri State University. He's worked for the Durham Company here in Lebanon for 20 years. Jeff, welcome, and tell me why you're running for City Council.
David, thanks for having me. Right now, I'm running for City Council because Lebanon is definitely primed for growth. As you may not know, I served on the Lebanon Zoning and Planning Commission for the last 14 years. The last 6 years of that, I was the chairman of that commission. And I've seen a lot of development opportunities come to Lebanon. I've seen Lebanon, be in a place that is in a very good place to develop that growth potential, to be ready for that growth. But we also have to make sure that we're managing that growth properly. I want to make sure that we are putting ourselves in a position, with fiscal responsibility, that we're managing our public safety growth, and that we're making sure that we're prepared to handle that growth. We have a good workforce. We've got a need for some housing, some more housing development, and putting ourselves in the right place to be able to bring that growth in and build on the city of Lebanon.
Tell me what the top 3 challenges are that lie ahead for the city of Lebanon and how you specifically are going to address those challenges.
Well, in government in general, I think there's a distrust in government, and not necessarily just in the city. I think it stems from the federal government on down. A lot of that comes from transparency. I think at the local level, we have a little bit of a distrust in our government because of transparency. I think some of that comes from not understanding exactly how decisions are being made, why they're being made. I think there's some misunderstanding about some fiscal accountability. Again, at the federal level, and I think that brings it on down to the local level. I think there's also some misunderstanding or lack of trust in the fact that people don't believe their government listens to their voice. We hear all the time that they don't feel that their voices are being heard or understood. I've been in city council meetings. I've been in zoning meetings. When I was the chairman of the Zoning Planning Commission, I made sure that when a citizen got up to speak, that we actually listened. We made sure we understood the issue they were bringing before us. And I plan to bring that into city council. I want to make sure that when a citizen stands up to speak or even grabs me on the street and asks a question, I want to make sure I understand exactly what they're bringing to us, make sure I understand why they're bringing that question. And I want to make sure that I give them an answer, or I find that answer for them and bring them back a proper and appropriate answer to make sure they know what they know and they understand what we're doing for them. Specifically
to Ward 1, what issues need to be addressed in Ward 1?
So, well, actually, Ward 1's wonderful. I love living in Ward 1. We moved over there 5 years ago, and we have been welcomed. Our neighbors are wonderful over there. Of course, we have a lot of growth going on at the school, major construction going on over there. There is some development that is happening, and more development continuing along that Lynn Street North 5 corridor. There are some derelict properties that probably should be addressed, and are being. There's some housing growth that's going on over there, which is wonderful. There's a lot of good things happening in Ward 1. We do need some street improvements being made in around the area. I've noticed, especially lately with the winter weather that we had, a lot of potholes have popped up, and our street department does a wonderful job keeping the streets clear. But now it's time to go back and fix some of those potholes and get some of those going. I think overall, we have a really good public works department. I think they take care of things, but I think maybe we need to, maybe get them after a few of those little things and and such. I do know there is a couple of water retention issues over in our area that I don't know if they've been. I don't know even know if they've been brought to the city's attention, but I've heard about them as I've been walking around talking to people. So I will make sure that those are brought up and addressed.
The city council position is a nonpartisan election. You don't have to declare a party affiliation. But for the most part, those who reside in the city are financially conservative. Mm-hmm. Within the last few months, the city has bought the former golf course, which that required the taxpayers' money to do that. There was some dedicated taxpayer money to do improvements inside the ice cream factory, which is a privately owned business. What are your thoughts on those two decisions?
Those are tough ones. And I've only been asked about those as I've been talking to people a couple of times. I don't know. There was a lot of information that was given to city council in closed session. So I don't understand exactly why the decisions were made the way they were. I don't know that I would have voted the way they did. In fact, with the information that's been publicly released, I can't say that I would have. I think that, again, that goes back to the transparency issue. All in all, I know several members of city council. I know some of them very well, and I do believe most of them have the best interest of the city at heart. So I believe they would have done their due diligence and they would have made the best decision that they felt was the best decision for the city. So I hope that's why that was done. Without knowing all the ins and outs of the information that was provided behind closed doors, it's hard to second guess those decisions. Once you own something, though, you do have to pay for it. So, whether or not we vote to buy it in the first place, the second vote was okay, now that we own it, you have to, maintain and repair and upgrade it. So the second time, once you own it, yes, I would have to fund it. So, there's two different votes there that would have taken place. So, there was that. On the ice cream factory, again, that's a city-owned building. So again, don't know all of the information that was provided behind closed doors. I do think the only information that I do know during the open session of City Council, there was one negative vote, and the funding for that was to upgrade their electrical system, and the only negative vote came from the electrician that was on City Council. So it concerns me that when we're talking about upgrading the electrical, that it's the electrician that said, no, we should not fund that. So that's a concerning that there weren't more questions asked. For me personally, and what I will bring to City Council, I have no problem with discussions taking place in closed session. There's some information that must be provided to City Council behind closed doors. There's discussions that must take place. There's decisions that must be taking place behind closed doors. I do not understand, and I think this goes against the transparency issue, when all they bring out to the open session is, here's the issue, let's vote, and don't explain anything. I think the city council should, and as a city council person, I would ask those questions in open forum that I need answers to that should be answered before the public. And so I would ask those questions, and city staff should be accountable to those answers. And city staff should be willing and able to answer those, and then we can vote in front of everybody and put every city council person on the record.
Two ongoing issues the city has been facing for now a number of years: blighted properties inside the city that are an eyesore, both commercial areas and in residential areas, and a rising issue of homeless encampments, homeless or displaced people soliciting money at the various intersections and overpasses here at the city. What needs to be done to address those issues?
So blighted properties are one thing. They must be treated equally. It doesn't matter who owns the property. If you're going to enforce a blighted property rule, it needs to be enforced equally. One thing we've seen over the years is certain properties are excused and not enforced, and then certain properties are. If you're going to enforce them, they need to be enforced equally across the board. I don't care who owns the property. As far as the homeless encampments, It depends on the property as to who can and who should enforce that. Private property is a different situation than public property. The city has the right to, a private property owner can ask the city to come in and remove people from private property. Public property is a different situation. It depends on the city ordinances involved, and I'm honestly not sure how our city ordinances address that. I would have to look into that. I have not. If we have a vagrants policy, it would need to be enforced. I don't know that it does. I do know over the years the city has moved homeless encampments off of city property onto other places, or out of the city, in fact. But again, it depends on how our ordinances are written and what's being done there. I'm sorry, what was the last part of that question?
What needs to be done to address those issues?
Well, again, it depends on how how our ordinances are written, and we have several nonprofit organizations that do help address certain people, certain situations, and I've been fortunate to serve on several organizations that support homeless and food impoverished persons. There is help out there for some. Some people will accept it. Some people will not accept it. It depends on their situation, and we should do all we can to help them if we can, and do what we must to help.
Is there anything else you'd like for the voters to know about you or your plans if elected?
Honestly, my plan is to be open and honest and serve the citizens of Lebanon the way I want our city government to serve. I think it's transparency. I mentioned that several times. I think transparency is extremely important. I have no problem, speaking my mind, and that may be a problem for some on city council, because I will openly ask questions to city staff in an open forum. It does not bother me, and I expect them to be able to answer those questions. I'm extremely. You mentioned fiscal conservative. I have no problem hiding that I am conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a socialist conservative. I have no problem hiding that. And again, I do think public safety is at the forefront, one of our fundamental responsibilities for our city government. It's what one of the things we're primarily put in place to do is to provide for the public safety and security of our citizens. So that's where I stand. That's who I am, and that's what I'm here for.
All right, Jeff, thank you.
Thank you, David.
And again, here at Lebanon Now, we want to encourage everybody on April 7th to get out and vote. City council elections, along with the school board elections, all come up on April 7th. We want you to get out and vote. For Lebanon Now, I'm David Millsap.
Your Vote Matters is sponsored by Boattown Brewing, City of Lebanon, Representative Knight of District 142, Representative Bill Hardwick of District 121, Hannah Kelly State Senate, Representative Melissa Schmidt of District 141, and Lebanon Now.